If telescopes are used to locate distant objects, what instrument is employed to magnify minuscule objects?
A list of events placed in time order is usually described as what?
A manufacturing process releases noxious gases. What is the most important safety measure for workers at this plant? Ensuring good ventilation or appropriate footwear?
Which kind of punishment for a crime is the less severe, an imprisonment or community service?
If a figure is hexagonal, how many sides does it have? What key mineral makes seawater different from fresh water?
Which is the longest, a decade, a millennium, or a century?
How many sides are there in a bilateral agreement?
What organ do cardiologists specialize in?
In the animal kingdom, is the purpose of camouflage to attract a mate, to find food, or to hide?
In an article that you wrote that I just read, you said you wished you could take everyone back to decades ago to look at the Florida Keys.
50 years ago, think about how much change has taken place in that short period of time. We have managed to consume on the order of 90% of the big fish in the ocean, the tunas, the swordfish, the sharks. They're mostly gone. Until recently, people have had the belief that there isn't much we puny human beings could do to change the nature of the ocean, but in fact, we have, not just because of what we've been taking out, and the destructive means often applied to take fish and other creatures from the sea, but also what we're putting into the sea, either directly or what we put into the atmosphere that falls back into the sea.
So if you were going to give a grade on the health of the oceans today, what would it be?
Well, it depends on which aspect. Across the board, the oceans are in trouble. It's hard for me to assign a specific grade, maybe C-.
What nutritional guidelines should we be following?
Well, probably the best source of nutritional guidelines are those that are issued by the American Cancer Society or the National Cancer Institute. And the American Cancer Society, for example, offers 4 really basic, simple nutrition guidelines. The first guideline, which in my mind is the most important, is to choose most of the foods that you eat from plant sources. And we can talk in more detail about that in a moment. The second guideline is to limit your intake of high-fat foods, particularly from animal sources. The third guideline is to be physically active and achieve a normal, healthy body weight. And the final guideline is to limit consumption of alcoholic beverages if you choose to drink at all.
So, Susan, one of the things we always hear about from the American Cancer Society is this 5-a-day recommendation. Maybe if you could explain to our listening audience what that actually means.
The 5-a-day recommendation is a very simple way of communicating the message to increase consumption of these plant foods. And what 5 a day means is 5 servings per day of fruits and vegetables in total. And some people misunderstand this guideline, and they may think it's okay if I have 5 glasses of fruit juice a day and I've met my 5-a-day guideline. But the goal is really to choose both fruits and vegetables as part of the 5-a-day guideline, to vary the fruits and vegetables that you eat on a daily basis, and that alone is a very major step forward in terms of reducing your risk for cancer.
The shuttle was designed to be a space truck. It's a multi-purpose vehicle. We've done a tremendous number of different things with it. It's the most versatile space vehicle that has ever been built. We've used it to launch satellites. We've used it to repair satellites in orbit and put them back into orbit. We've used it to capture satellites and bring them back to Earth for repair. We've outfitted it with the Space Lab built by our European partners and used it before the era of the space station to do scientific research. We used it as part of our partnership with the Russians, which is still continuing, first as part of the Mir space station, where we actually prolonged the useful life of Mir by several years through logistical supply visits with the shuttle. And now, of course, we're using it to build the new International Space Station, which is a huge international partnership.
Most teaching staff make their lecture notes available online.
The final year will consist of 4 taught courses and 1 project.
Higher numbers of patients were infected than during previous outbreaks of the illness.
Sydney is Australia's largest city, chief port and cultural centre. The nearest automatic teller is in front of the anatomy labs.
The university has a world-renowned school of archaeology.
Newspapers are supported primarily by the sale of advertising space.
Successful applicants will work with a large team of researchers.
There will be a conference here next summer on using the web for academic research.
He started his tutorial presentation right on time.